to the 90-day heart-made consciousness experiment.
Oh, you look so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
You look like somebody who's being courted by multiple men.
There are a couple suitors. We'll see. We'll see what happens. That's funny that you say that.
Oh, there's a glow about you.
Oh, it's just been fun. It's just been fun, so. Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, I'm kind of fascinated that you're invisible.
You know what? I think the coherence healing of over 30 people sending me love altered my computer.
Oh, wow. I believe it. Everything is energy. So yeah, sometimes, you do have electronic surges and all sorts of weird things going sometimes with electronics. They can be fixed and they can be like thrown off kilter, or sometimes they're like wiped out too. I've seen that happen. I haven't seen it lately, but I've seen a few years back, there was like several people that I knew where it's like, oh my gosh, so much electronic issues going on with myself and with them as well. So obviously that was for me, it was like, just the degree to which it was happening, it was like, okay, there's something that's off about my energy. Oh, and there's David, he's come in.
It was working. It worked for the coherence healing and the camera hasn't worked since.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love that landscape that you have of Hawaii for your green screen. It looks so beautiful every time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, David, how you doing?
Hi, Lillian. Hi, Terry. I'm doing good,
Hello.
thank you. I'm going to have to take off for just a minute. I got to go put my close in my chickens. So I'll be right back.
Not a problem. That's fine. We'll be here. We'll be starting in just a couple minutes. I figured to start off this session, we're going to start off with the PSMO method because it's just a great reset for everybody universally.
That's quite an outfit you have on, Lillian.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, David. I appreciate the kind compliment.
I think you've worn something different every single meeting. In fact, I'm quite sure of it.
Possibly. I'd have to double check just to make sure. I just wanted to wear something that had red in it, and this has some red on both sides. So I figured, because heart mate and so forth. So I was looking for red.
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, so in a minute when David gets back, we're going to start with the PSMO method. And like I was saying, I think it's just a universal great reset for anyone. Whether if you're feeling great, it just increases your energy and just continues to keep you in that higher vibe. If you're feeling, dark, heavy, wiped out, exhausted, anxious, nervous, frustrated, afraid, jittery, just not feeling good in general, it'll neutralize you so that you are no longer feeling those things and you're in an inherently happier state without you having to force your will to do it, because we're using the 8 neurosomatic systems of the body to do it. So then just by your following it along, it automatically happens. So it's not a matter of faith or knowing or believing that it'll work. It's not a matter of how much discipline or determination you have. It just works for the reasons that I explained before. And I also discussed that in the PSMO video that you guys all have. How was your 4th of July? Before we get in deep into that, we'll just take a few minutes here and give David a few minutes to come back. How was your 4th, Terry?
It was very quiet by my own choice.
Mm-hmm.
I just stayed home and putzed around the house and did a little bit of cooking and turned on my Christmas lights. I have them where the wall hits the ceiling. I have them around the room. So I just pretended they were fireworks.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure it must have been beautiful and serene.
Mm-hmm. And a friend gave me the great idea to use a timer on them because I have them up and I forget to turn them on. So he's like, put them on a timer so they come on every night, like at 7 o'clock or whatever time I want, and go off at 10 or whatever I choose. And I'm like, oh, that's brilliant.
That's a great idea. Oh, How wonderful. How long have you been living now in Hawaii?
I moved here in 2013.
Oh, you moved in 2013. For some reason, I thought it was just in the last like 3 or 4 years.
Oh, well, I left for 2 years and then came back.
Oh, okay.
I had to find out that Maui was really my home.
So what was the first island you lived in?
Oh, I moved to Maui and then I went to Seattle for 2 years and then I moved back to Maui.
Okay, so you've been in Maui both times. Wow, how awesome is that? Not a bad place to land by choice. So
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. It's so beautiful there. Was it especially hot or was it kind of the regular temperature for you guys?
Well, I live at 3,400 feet, so it's always comfortable up here. I've heard it's hot down in the ocean, valley.
Wow. Okay, so you're a little bit higher, which that's nice. You probably have a little bit cooler wind.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's been cold up until, we had I think it was July 1st. It finally, got warm. And then since the 4th of July, it's been very warm. It actually finally feels like summer because I remember June 21st was, summer solstice when the summer is supposed to start. And it was still on the cold side where this whole past week leading up to the 4th of July in California, it was like the low 60s. And I'm like, when is it going to get warm? So it feels like summer. It's been such a cold winter and a cold spring. So it finally warmed up. So now it's in the high 70s, which is good.
Yeah, it feels cooler here than normal to me, but
yeah, I think it has been cooler for the west, like this west side of the United States this year. Definitely colder than normal.
Well, David must be having to hunt for those chickens. That's so cute that he has to go gather them up.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I don't know. He's never talked about them before, so I don't know if he has a chicken coop or I assumed he was talking about chicken that he needed to throw in an oven or something like that.
Oh, no, I think he means live chickens.
Are those live chickens you were tending to, David?
Yeah, they're still, thank God and that's why I have to tend to them to keep them alive. If I don't, the critters will get them.
Oh my gosh. Well, awesome. So let's get started. Let's jump into the PSMO method and then we'll move forward from that point. All right. So let's start off we're going to stand up. And as you know, the physiological size, we're going to start with 3 sets of 3. So begin. That's set 1. Set 2. That's set 3. Now we're going to do the mani-ocular technique, and that's 3 sets of 10. And if you recall, your head is stationary the entire time. The only thing that's going to move is your eyes, left, right, left, 10 times. And you're going to use your hand as a guide. And you're going to look at your first finger or your knuckle. And we'll begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pause. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pause. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pause. Okay. And for the third part, we're going to be, as you know, we're going to have our hands wide open like this. We are going to count up to 120 twice. And the first 30, we have our hands as wide as we can because that increases willpower. And then we convert them to fists and we're bouncing on the balls of our feet like a boxer. And just having your hands above your head like that increases your testosterone and your energy as we already talked about those details. So you guys already know about that. So it increases it by over 80%. So I'm going to put a timer on so that you can see, or you know what, I'm just going to keep to the counting from 1 to 120 twice, because that shows you guys that you don't have to have music on. You don't have to have a timer. Just count to 120. Okay, so let's begin. Hands out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. This 1, 2, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 50, 51, 53, 54, 55, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 72, 73, 74, 75, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Repeat. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 29, 30, 31, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 43, 44, 45, 46, 48, 49, 50, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 85, 86, 87, 90, 91, 92, 93, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We did it. Okay. That's the PSMO. So you had
Good work.
I'm sorry?
Good work.
Yeah, so if you had brain fog, you'll probably notice and become aware that that's lifted and you're realizing that your energy is feeling up and you just feel happier. Welcome to week 9 of the 90-day HeartMate consciousness experiment. There's a couple things. I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to tell me about, have you noticed anything different, or have you had any thoughts of adding other things to your programmed water? If you want to make any kind of comments about that right now. Do either of you have any?
Well, as far as thoughts about it, I mentioned I harvested a large amount of rainwater a week ago, and I'm still utilizing my rainwater, and I still have my bottle. So, and since I have a lot of it, instead of keeping it in the bottle, I thought, well, I don't have to keep it in the bottle all the time. I'll pour it from the bottle into a glass, especially if I'm eating or something and I want to have something to drink. I found it easier to put it in a glass. I did do that. Anyway, as far as thoughts about it, to me, it's kind of neat to think of the fact that this is rainwater and I don't know where it's been and who it's passed through. So I just use that concept. So, and I like that idea. So that's all I have to say about the water.
Okay, I like that. Sounds awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so you have a greater expanded awareness about water and the water that you're drinking and where the water's coming from, and basically how it's actually recycling and it's going back to the all when it evaporates or when it goes through you, it's coming back over and over again, but you don't really know specifically where it's coming from.
Or where it's been.
Yeah, or it's where it's been. It's definitely traveled.
Yeah, and I think it's a infinite product. It's been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's like,
well, yeah, and if you recall from our last week, we're talking about hydrogen. You know, there's 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen molecule in water, and hydrogen is the most abundant element in the world. That's what, you know, the aha moment that we listened to last week was about. And so, yeah, I think that there's something very special.
You shared a link on that, I believe.
Yeah, I shared the link to the Facebook so that you could go to it and you could actually, in the recording of this last week's session, week 8, I actually, you know, took a little video of it, but I wanted you guys to be able to go to my profile page and then take your cursor. You could read it again if you wanted to, but more importantly, you could take your cursor to that image, which is a 3D image. And as you move the cursor around, you would notice how the perspective would change, whether you went up, down, left, right, in circles all around. It was very cool to be able to move that just through the movement of your cursor.
It was cool. And I did do that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. So very fun. Terry, is there anything that you wanted to share about that?
Not the water specifically, but with PMSO, I added smiling while I'm doing the last segment where we're bouncing on our toes.
That's neat that you say that, because that's one of the first things I noticed. I usually do it in front of that mirror, like I'm facing that mirror. And so, yeah, I noticed that I can't help but laugh, like smile and laugh. And it's just like a big grin where I can't help myself. So that's neat that you also have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed watching you bounce.
Well, it is kind of a fun, it is kind of a fun thing. And
I was getting into that more than I was anything else. I thought that's kind of cool watching Lillian just bounce. So I felt the rhythm.
Yeah, it's like I do that every day. And the funny thing is that as you do it more, I think because you know that it feels good, you have more enthusiasm for it. But it doesn't matter, because I remember when I first put it together and I started using it with my private clients, most of them have either some sort of PTSD, anxiety attack, like severe panic attacks where they end up at the hospital sometimes once or twice a month, that's got to be awful, because they actually feel like they're having heart attacks. And so they're not coming in the best of shape to me. And yet, they did it. They just followed along. And then the look on their face, of course, their faces start to light up when they're doing in the first count of 30 with our hands that are open like this. Immediately, I start to see their disposition already starting to shift. And so by the time we're done, they're like, oh my gosh, they're like, brain fog gone. I feel better. I feel energized. My eyes aren't heavy anymore. It just works. So, well, I'm glad that you like to do it and to watch it being done. Okay. So,
I liked watching you. I don't know in general if I'd like it, but you look kind of fun.
Well, we're recording this, so you could always play it back.
All right. Good. And Terry, we couldn't see you.
Well, I'm having something's wrong with my camera. So you either get to see waves or you get to see my still picture, but I can't get my live picture to work.
I think I like your waves, but I like being able to see your face. So if we can't see you live, I like seeing your image, because I actually can see your face. So I'm glad that you put that on. There's an option.
Yeah.
I did want to elaborate on the programming of water for myself and some of the things that I just started doing in the last 30 days. And I'm noticing certain results that I know that it's because I did this. And so along with the programming of water that I have, to drink, and I have, multiple bottles upstairs and downstairs, but I had the thought, it's like, well, it's not just the water we drink, but also the water that we bathe in, the water that we brush our teeth with. And then I was thinking about the water that I use to water my plants, flowers, and then I have a couple of avocado and lemon tree seeds that I planted from, I had bought avocados at, Mother's or Sprouts, and lemons that I got from my parents' lemon tree. And I decided to plant them. And then about 30 days, and that's been going on for maybe 6 months that I planted those. And so I decided, what would happen if I took a label, and I could either write it with a marker under the pot, or I could put, those little brother labeling machines, just type out love and put it, on the potted plant, so that the plant has the word love on it all the time. And then I took the water, I usually give it those particular plants, I usually give them filtered water. And then I put love on that. It's a giant glass bottle that I use for that. And so I put it on that as well. And then, so I speak love and a blessing over that water. And then as I'm pouring it, I'm saying, oh, hello, beautiful. I love you. You're so beautiful. Look at you bloom and you're growing. Before you know it, you'll be giving fruit, blah, blah, blah. And so I notice there's one plant that's inside my kitchen. That's a smaller one because I started it later. And the one that's bigger, it is starting to like develop all these leaves. It's like all of a sudden it went from being kind of like more puny to all of a sudden all these leaves started sprouting. So to me, that's a sign that instead of just giving it plain old water and just leaving the dirt as it is, just the fact that I'm putting, the written word of love on the potted plant, as well as the water. I'm programming the water both in written form as well as spoken and thought form, and then repeating that out loud to the plants and greeting the plants with love. I'm noticing a difference there. I took it a step further and I kind of went love label crazy. So I'm like, okay, how else could I, kick this up a notch so that I can expand that blessing of love that's anytime I'm using water. So under my sink in my bathroom on the pipe, the PVC pipe, I went ahead and I put the label of love there. And then in my shower, in the shower head above where you can't really see it, I went ahead and I stuck a label there so that when I'm showering, that water also has that programmed love water. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah. So those are just some things that occurred to me. And I thought it just felt good to do it. And it's like I'm surrounding myself with more just that love vibration everywhere. So I encourage you to do it too.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So under my kitchen sink, the PVC pipe, where I wash my dishes, I just put it under there. So I know nobody else knows that it's there, but I know that it's there. And so all the water that I used to wash my dishes, everything, it's all basically blessed with water. So yeah.
My roses could use something. They're almost devastated, and I can't find any bugs on them. So that must be some kind of a virus or something.
Oh, interesting. So
that's what I thought.
Are these rose bushes that you have?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
I have two different kinds, and they are both infected. One's in front, some are in front, some are in back, and I have another one on the side berm that's not. I'm not sure. A lady came over and she sent me some things, and I made up this concoction. I don't like to put chemicals on them, and 7 is something that kind of works, which is a chemical. But I did some kind of soap and some boric acid, not boric acid, but baking. Anyway, my roses still need some help.
I wish I knew more about roses that I could maybe help out. So you'll have to have a chit chat with Google online or YouTube. YouTube seems to have a lot of answers for a lot of things.
I know a lady to contact who is quite the plant person. So.
Oh, good. We're still measuring, as you guys know, our synchronicities, our dreams, the people that we meet, whatever dates, whatever connections we have with people as we just are living and, running our normal errands and so forth. You guys want to share at this time reports on any of those things, the synchronicities, dreams, people we meet, dates or connections? Now would be the time.
Well, I've had a lot of synchronicities this week. I needed to do something at the DMV, called and asked because it was the last day of the month. And she's like, oh, don't ever come in the last day of the month. It's the worst day of the whole month. But I was uptown. I'm like, I want to get this done. So I stopped by anyway. I was in and out in 5 minutes. That is unheard of any day of the year. 5 minutes.
That's unheard of, I think, anywhere in the country.
I know. Yeah. Even on their slowest day. It's like, wow. Then on Monday, I called for an eye exam. They're like, oh, we're really booked for a long time. And then Tuesday morning, they texted me, can you come in right now? We have a cancellation. I'm like, yep, I'll be there.
Wow.
Then I was in line at the car wash where you put the quarters in and waited a substantial amount of time, but that was okay. I didn't care. Then as the lady in front of me was finishing up, she walks back to me and she says, there's still time on the meter. You can use it. And so I pulled up and I was able to get a free car wash because she left so much money in the machine.
Wow.
And then a friend and I were going to go over to Lahaina, which is about an hour away from where I am now, to a Buddhist temple. They were going to floating candles on the ocean that are biodegradable for honoring your ancestors at a Jodo mission. But there had been an accident on that road. It's only 2-lane. It was inching along, literally inching along. And she's like, I really don't want to drive that far because it would have been 2 or 3 hours because of the accident. So we're like, okay, we'll just stay here at the harbor. We walk into a restaurant, asked if there's any seating, and they said yes. They took us to the outdoor area overlooking the ocean and the harbor. It was gorgeous. Nobody else was on the patio. And we looked at each other and we're like, how are we so lucky? Like, our island is so tourist filled right now. We get 9,000 tourists a day landing on Maui. And here we are in this restaurant all by ourselves out on the patio. It was glorious.
Oh my gosh. You are like a magnet for just like things getting better and better. It seems like, oh my
Yes.
gosh. But
So
that's amazing. Any of those 5 minutes in the DMV, it's like, how is that even possible? But obviously it is, because you did it. A free car wash at the peak season. You had the privacy of an entire place, you and your friend, to enjoy this glorious destination spot. Holy smokes.
Then I've still seen a lot of synchronicities in numbers. When I parked to go to my optometrist, the guy in the truck next to me was waving at me, which I thought was interesting. I mean, like a hello. When I went to my chiropractor, he was flirting with me. He says to me, "How many boyfriends do you have?" And I just started laughing because I just said, I said, I'm practicing loving myself. And so we're friends. He hugs me at the beginning of the visit. He hugs me at the end of the visit. And let me give you some background. About a year ago, he invited me out to tea, but he never followed up, and I didn't encourage him because I knew he was also dating someone else. And I'm just like, just let him do his thing. When he's available, we'll maybe revisit that. So on my way out the door, I just had this flirty energy, and I just said, I had a guy that asked me out to tea. Do you think I should go out with him? And at first his face was blank because he didn't remember. And then you could see the recognition going across his face. And he responded to me, "What you talking about, Willis? Remember that old comedy?"
Yeah.
So I just laughed again and departed. I just thought, I planted the seed. He can do whatever he wants, and I'm not attached.
Yeah. So you're doing something which is one of the things that I wanted to point out in this particular lesson for today, is to just have fun and to flirt without any attachments, just for the pure joy that you're playing. It's having that childlike energy where you don't really have an outcome or an attachment to making anything happen. You're just enjoying the energy of playful fun.
Exactly.
And that is a very attractive energy to have, which you can see how things around you are shifting just by allowing yourself to say, let me just go ahead and kind of play with this, and maybe kind of tease a little and maybe poke a little and just laugh and create laughter for yourself and create a moment of joy and laughter for another.
Exactly. Then on Friday, I was the happy recipient of a coherence healing, because I know somebody who's on the coherence team, and she helped me get signed up. And I really signed up for physical healing, but during the session, I felt such heart expansion that I didn't even think about the physical healing. I was so elated with the feeling of love in my heart. I was in such a state of bliss, and it's continued. Like, I've held that vibration since Friday. Wow. And they afterwards, they asked me a questionnaire about if I had physical healing. And I said, I feel such wholeness that I'm deferring and not even going to go into my mind to analyze what my body's doing, because my emotions are just in joy and bliss and love. And whether I got healed then or whether I get healed as I keep holding this vibration, it's irrelevant, because I just feel so whole. It's amazing.
To me, it sounds like you were healed, because if you're feeling that good, that dissonance can't exist in your body when you're feeling that blissed out. Wow. So you just keep riding that wave.
Exactly. And then somebody posted something on one of the Dr. Joe sites asking if anybody knew anybody that lived in Maui, and his name was Dean or something. So I took a screenshot of it, because I thought, well, I want to follow up, because I like gathering in the community. I really want to create community with everybody that's been to Dr. Joe's events. And so the friend that helped me get into Co-Heal said, "Come on over and have appetizers. I want to introduce you to this couple who's visiting the island." I walk up, and the lady who says to me, "You were on the coherence thing on Friday." So she was holding energy for me on Friday, and we didn't even know each other yet.
Oh my gosh.
And guess who her partner was? The guy who I took the screenshot of. I'm like, oh my God, I already found you. Like,
wow, that's very big synchronicity.
Yeah. And so they met for the first time in Niagara Falls in 2019, just friends. They met again through coherence, and now they're a couple. So I got to be in the presence of love of a Dr. Joe couple.
Oh, I love to hear that. Wow, Terry, you're on a mega roll.
Yeah.
Wow. So you met a Dr. Joe couple. Very nice. Very, very nice. Oh, your joy is infectious.
Yeah, it feels pretty good.
Oh,
It feels amazing, actually. It's not good. It feels amazing.
yeah. So it kind of makes you more bright and hopeful and kind of like
Mhm.
curious more about it's like, oh my gosh, how good can it get? You know, what other cool surprises are there today?
Right.
It's awesome. Is there, well, that's quite you had a ton of things going on this week. So congratulations and just keep riding the wave because you're on a really beautiful roll.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we have about 30 more days to go, as you guys know, because August 5th is the 90th day. Yeah. Very, very cool. David, do you want to share your signs, your symbols, your dreams, your synchronicities, all that good stuff that we're measuring?
Well, let's see. So I played pickleball several weeks ago. I wanted to. They have we have a tournament this coming week. I went to sign up, and online it showed that it was open, but they wouldn't let me sign up. So I called the guy that runs it, and he said, "Well, he said this all full, but I'll keep you on the waiting list. You'll be first." I had lined up a partner to play with already, and so I said, "Okay." So I hadn't heard from him, and then talking to Terry last Monday, she said she manifested her her home or something when she showed up in Hawaii, and I thought, cool, I'm going to manifest a spot on the so I can play in this tournament. So I thought, well, so I put my energy that way, and then I called him, and I called Jack, who sets this up, and he said, well, he was just finishing up, and he said, well, there just came an opening. He said, if you want to play, I'll get you in. There's 8 teams. Anyway, so I got in on that one. I said, well, let me make sure my partner still wants to play. So I called him up, and he did. So anyway, I was kind of thrilled about that.
That's pretty good because if it's full, yeah. So you knew that was in that moment they're telling you it's full, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Things can happen, and so you, instead of chalking it off to that's it, done and over with, you're like, no, I still want to go. So you focusing your intention on it, and you could see it in your mind's eye. You could feel it.
I could feel it. So anyway, I'm happy about that. Well, I went to a party. It was a party / potluck, and I invited this lady if she wanted to come with me. And she said, and she took her time, but she said that she didn't want to come. She didn't know most of these people, and so she didn't feel like being around people. She said, but if you want to come over and hang out on my porch and have a glass of wine, you can do that. So I said, I thought about it. I thought, well, hell, I can do both.
I love it. It's both and, not either or.
Yeah. So I said, well, if you're okay with meeting up around 8:30 or 9, I'll swing by your porch. So anyway, she said fine. So I did. So I went to and the potluck was quite fine too. There was actually a lady I hadn't seen for some time that was there, and she's into the spiritual thing, and I mentioned that book. So I'm not quite half through that book, but I'm really into reading it. I like the concepts of that particular one. Awake. I had some good conversations as well. Oh, and then this. So I went to this thing last Wednesday night, and a friend of mine has this like music and people, and I recited my poems there. Now, I was speaking of my poem. I ran into this lady who writes books, and I bought one of her books on how to write, and I asked her if she would critique my poems, and she said, "Oh, I'd love to." So I sent her my poem. She just wrote me back, and she said that she really liked my poems. She said the one on the water. She said you should send that off because you could probably get that one published, and so I thought, well, cool. I'll check that out. And then she said, there aren't any gators in the Nile. They're crocodiles.
Yeah.
So as a writer, she has to have everything how things should be. So anyway, so I went over and I did the porch sit, and that was very nice, and it was fun. But sometimes it's very clear that they will not be a romantic interest and just a friend. So anyway, so then. So I went to that thing Wednesday night, this lady, and I went in for I said, I'm just breezing in, I'm breezing out. So I was just there for 10 minutes. And I thought, well, should I do that? Because I had another call coming, or I meet with these guys that we've been meeting for about 6 years now. So every other Wednesday, we're doing Google Talk. So she had a bike rack on her car. So are you a biker? And she said, oh, no, Well, I like to bike, but I'm not a real avid hardcore biker. Like the bike clubs, they ride fast. So if you want to go, they were in a group. And she said, I said, yeah, I'm not. I said, I did get a new bike, so it makes it easier, a lot easier. I said, well, maybe we can go biking sometime. But I didn't get her phone number. And so I thought, well, damn, I should have got her phone number. Because I like the way she looked, and I like the fact she bikes. So that's something in common. And she mentioned something about the universe rather than, so she's not the typical, didn't seem like the typical person in the Midwest. Anyway, this friend of mine called me and he said that woman just called to get my phone number. She got, and anyway, she texted me about this, the bike club. She went on the next night with the bike club on another ride and said that we went. So anyway, I'm going to do that next Thursday. I thought that was very cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Wow.
And just in general, I don't know. I have a rather upbeat mood. I feel like I have a lot of light that I shine when I go around. So I don't know. I just I like you said, having fun. It's like just go out and have yourself some fun. And it's kind of fun to play with people sometimes. Kind of, if they're real serious, you can just kind of, okay. So anyway.
And it's fun. It's fun to have new friends. You know, friends are just strangers you haven't met yet. And so once you meet them, you know, a lot of them can become really great friends. And at some point you'll find the one. Until then, you're having great fun with friends and you're all enjoying life. You're all doing things that you love to do in common. So yeah.
So it's all good. So I did this job today, and there's some posts on a railing on this stairs going down outside, and this lady, she came out and asked if it was okay if she hung out with me and sat. She's married and things, but I thought that was pretty cool. She's actually Japanese and was just telling me about her life and lived in California. And anyway, I just, to make the connections is very nice.
Yeah, so. It is very nice. Sounds to me for at least, 4 or 5 weeks or more, every single week that we've been meeting, I've noticed that every single week you have ladies now that are around you that you're asking out and asking to do things with each other. So I think, and it's like, sometimes it doesn't work where they can go to whatever you invited them to. And they're saying, like this lady, you're saying, she goes, oh, I maybe not that, but you could swing by and you can have a glass of wine, with me on my porch. So it's not a total rejection of necessarily you and the activity, but she still wants to spend time with you. So she's like, yeah, she's welcoming your company. So that's happened quite a bit, I've noticed. So that's a very nice, fun pattern, I think.
Yeah. Another thing that happened was I'm in this covenant group, and the covenant group, and I've been a facilitator for 3 years, and I decided I don't want to continue to be a facilitator. And it was like I felt really good to say, no, I don't want to do it anymore. I'll continue to go, and I can do. So I had to put together these all the time, and it just felt really good to say, no, I don't want to keep doing that. I'm done. I was just amazed at how uplifting that was. And one other thing happened, that I was on this dating site, Plenty of Fish, and I paid for that, and it just expired. And I thought, you know what? That site sucked. and I just terminated the whole thing. I just eliminated my entire profile. I said, I'm out of here. And that felt good too. So
yeah, you're having so much success meeting people in real life. You've got all these things going on, and you keep on, moving forward with all of them, and you keep on meeting new ladies, and they're responding to you. So you don't really need that. So very fun. But I like the fact that you're paying attention to that. It feels good. Like that covenant group, you spent who knows how long there. It was there for a season. And now it felt good for you to say, okay, no more of that. Because it sounds like you have, the energy is moving where you're going to need that time to invest in these different ladies that you have met already. And who knows who's to come. It could be someone that you've met already, or there might be someone coming forth. But you do have a lot going on between your work and all these other activities. So very fun.
Yeah. It's good. It's all good.
Yeah, very, very good. Yeah, one of the things that I'm noticing with all of us is that, obviously we have more interactions. We're talking to more people, we're meeting, having more connections, more encounters, more dates. One thing that we were doing that I really didn't do I think maybe once in the last week, which we were doing the text messaging your heartmate daily. Well, since I'm texting like live human beings, guys that are interested, this kind of fell by the wayside. So I think, yeah, there was only like once, and then it just completely fell off my radar where I didn't even think about it, because now I'm talking to, several gentlemen, and, between the live conversations and then the text messages to them and, to and fro, there is no room for for this one, which is the make-believe one, which,
And one of those might be it that you're talking to.
yeah, I don't know yet, but it's like, it doesn't matter at this point. It's like the fun interaction is like in play, and it's just a matter of, I recognize that just as I continue to do that, and I notice that I've been laughing a lot more because some of them are so funny. And so I think it's a series of things why I'm laughing, not just when I'm on calls with them, even text messaging. Like one today kind of cracked me up, because he said, it's like right away, he's like, hey, how about I take you out for a drink? I'm like, so I thought to myself, I said, what could I say that would be kind of curious and kind of like teasing a little bit? And I said, how heavy is your cell? So I'm inferring to how heavy is your cell phone, which I have no idea how much my cell phone weighs, but it's like, it's kind of a, pattern interrupt, if you will. So I was just teasing, and he said, how about if I take you out for a drink? And then I said, how heavy is your cell? Because like 24 hours passed, and I had just replied, sure. And then since I hadn't heard anything for 24 hours, then I put, how heavy is your cell? And he's like, something like, I'm not quite sure. Are you alluding to brain cells? And I laughed. I said, no, silly. I go, but you're pretty funny. I meant your cell phone. And then he's like, oh, wait a minute. I got it. So I thought that was kind of funny, because even though I'm thinking about the brain all the time, in that context, my mind was like, how heavy is your cell phone? He was thinking brain cells. So that was kind of funny, but just funny, quirky things like that. And it's just the intention of kind of being a little bit more playful. So it's not everything so serious. You know what I mean? So the other thing, as we continue with our mirror work.
So are you going out for a drink with him?
Yeah, I'm going, actually, I'm going with a gentleman. He's supposed to call tonight. I'm not sure if we're going to go Thursday or this weekend. So we'll see. We're going to talk about that later tonight. So we'll see what happens.
Are we going to hear more about your week as well?
My week was fantastic. Very busy, very occupied with both work. And then my boys came down from San Francisco on the 1st. And then
boyfriends.
I'm sorry?
Calling your boys. I thought you were referring to the men, like my boyfriends.
No. My sons, both of my boys, my sons, they live in San Francisco. So they came down on the 1st, on Thursday, the 1st. So they were here for 10 days. They leave on Saturday. So they've been here. So it's been not only my two sons, and my son also brought his girlfriend, but also, of course, their friends that they went to high school with and everything. They've been here pretty much every night. So it's kind of been a party almost every day.
Do you have a daughter as well?
I have a daughter too. So it's like, my kids say it's like, it's a sibling reunion, because all three of them are able to be together for these 10 days, which is a really special thing. So yeah.
Very special.
Yeah. So it's been very fun having them. And it kind of feels like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be, with, 3, 4, 5 of their friends over while we're having dinner and things like that. And it's like, we've basically been having a party every night. So it's like, I think the first night they were here, we stayed up till like 5:30 in the morning. The next night we stayed up till, we didn't mean to stay up till 5 or 5:30, but I think we stayed up till 4 in the morning. The next night it's like, okay, we need to go to sleep at a more reasonable time. So that was like 1 or 1:30. And then we had the 4th of July. So at 4th of July, we had, my parents came over, and my brother and all that. So that was a bigger party. And It was like, I felt like we partied all day because we walked downtown Huntington, had brunch, and there's all the festivities we didn't have they weren't able to do the 4th of July parade again because of the whole COVID thing, but they had a big carnival and they brought in this Ferris wheel and all these vendors. So it was, for me, it's even better than the 4th of July parade. So that was a lot of fun. So we got back from brunch like at 3, and then my family was coming over at 4. So I just, prepped all the things that we were going to barbecue and got all that, and the kids helped me too. And then so the rest of the evening was just, having a good time partying with everybody and, and all of that. So it was fun. It was fun. And then the fireworks we could see from our upper deck, and it was very fun. So
your whole family lives near you then?
So my parents live an hour away, and both of my brothers live an hour. Like both of them are in Los Angeles and in a suburb of LA, and my parents are about an hour inland from here. They're also in LA County. So
you're in LA too, right?
I'm actually in Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, and then my daughter lives with me, and my sons are in San Francisco because they both work for tech companies up in Northern Cal. Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun, just having that whole interaction and all that kind of good stuff. So it was a very busy, productive, fun-filled.
So what do your parents think of your Joe Dispenza, and are you and your children? Are they into this type of thing as well?
They are somewhat, they're not totally immersed into Dr. Joe's teachings and so forth like I am, and neither are my parents. My parents are, very traditional Presbyterian. My dad's an ordained Presbyterian minister. I'm trying to think, for 40 or 50 years. I'm not sure how many years, maybe longer. No, it's got to be like something like 40, 50 years. My dad has basically had, his own congregation, and then he's also a chairman of a board for Southern California University. So, and he's also chaplain of a Temple City Police Department and worked with the Veterans Administration and so forth. But my dad's also has, he's like a 32nd degree Mason. So he has a lot of that more, he wouldn't call it Unitarian, but I would call it more of a Unitarian. I don't know if you want to call it philosophy, attitude. I think it's just a more open receptivity where, like, he's always had, Mormon friends, Muslim friends, Jewish friends, Catholic friends, Buddhist friends. He's always been very all-inclusive and not just, as when it comes to like the Christian faith and so forth and Judeo-Christian principles. Some groups tend to be more closed and more exclusive compared to others. So they tend to be a little bit more, I don't think they would use the word liberal, but because that's probably not a word that would settle as well with them. But I think they would say that they're just more open and accepting of people of other, it's like faiths, cultures, religions, nationality. And so, I have shared with them a lot of the teachings of Dr. Joe and so forth. And I think my dad is more where he's employed a lot of these different things that he has learned as a direct result of, not only the Judeo-Christian belief systems, but also because of, in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, they teach you a lot of these same principles that Dr. Joe teaches, and they meditate and they pray, and they have a lot of the same principles that are in place without, kind of like Dr. Joe, where Dr. Joe doesn't put religion at the center. It's more of your spiritual connection as an individual with, with God, with, some people call it the universe, the other call it the divine. It doesn't matter what anybody's calling it. We have to use language to express what these things are to get a notion of it, but it's not hung up with a particular labeling system or a particular dogma, because it's supposed to be for all human beings, not just for a group that carry a certain label. And so, so to answer your question, they're open and they're receptive, but they're not, entrenched in it. But I've always meditated and prayed with my 3 kids from the time they were little, and I had them acknowledge. I knew that as kids, as they reach ages of 5, 6, 7, and 8, that a lot of that is conditioned out of them. And I didn't want them to lose that. So for example, when my son, I think was 4 years old, and he came into my room like at 3:00 in the morning and he said, "Hey mom, the guy in there told me to wake you up." And I said, "What guy?" He said, to tell you I'm burning up. And I said, "What?" So I'm trying to wake up. I put my hand on his forehead and he was really hot. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you have a high fever." So I grabbed him, went to the bathroom, sat him on the counter, turned on the cold water, and then took like a hand towel, got it wet, put it on his forehead, and then grabbed a thermometer. And as I was, getting the thermometer, I said, "What guy told you to wake me up?" He goes, "The guy that's in my room." I go, "What does this guy look like?" Yeah. He's like, "Yeah, the guy in my room." I'm like, "What?" So he said, "Yeah, the guy in my room." Well, what does he look like? He's like, "I don't know." He goes, "He's got like shoulder length brown hair and he's wearing a white robe and he's tall." I said, "Tall?" I go, "Is he taller than your dad or shorter than your dad?" And he's like, "Oh no, he's taller than dad." I said, "He's taller than dad?" I go, "That was an angel, wasn't it?" He goes, "Yeah, I think so." So in my bedroom, in my master bedroom at the time, I had all these different Renaissance pictures of archangels, some cherubim, some seraphim, but a lot of archangels. So I said, "Did he look like any of the guys, any of the angels in my room?" And he said, "Nope." He said, "Nope." I said, "Okay." I said, "Did you see his feet?" He says, "No, you couldn't see his feet," which to me was another indicator that it was an angel. I said, "Okay." So he had 104-degree fever, which is obviously a high fever. So then I just threw him in the bathtub and so forth. But all that to say that I just did not deny him. I knew that what he saw was real, even though I didn't witness it. And so I was spiritually sensitive enough where that was something that I wanted to encourage and cultivate so that they wouldn't lose it and then have to learn to get it back. And so all three of them, I brought them up with that, where they could acknowledge, and they're seeing things oftentimes that they would see that nobody else would see, or maybe one would see, the other one would feel. And so I never negated that. Oftentimes I could either see or feel something as well. But my main thing was to cultivate that they wouldn't lose that. Especially, when kids are in junior high, they want to fit in and be like everybody else. They don't want to be weird. So I said, "Get over it. Everybody's weird. It's just to what degree." I go, "That's what's making you interesting. The fact that you're weird, that I'm weird, you're weird. Everybody, in fact, your friends are weird. That's probably why you're friends, because they're just weird enough that they're amusing, that you're curious. They're not bizarre, but they're, interesting enough to say, hey, yeah, that's kind of, we have these similarities, but these things are definitely either odd, different, weird, strange, or just different from what I'm used to, which makes you kind of interesting." And I also taught them that if you look at the origin of the word weird, a lot of people don't recognize that the word weird is actually originally from a Welsh word, which is weirda. And back in in medieval times, when somebody they claimed that they were weird, it was usually someone who was either accused of witchcraft or something spiritual, and they were doing magical things that people couldn't explain or understand. And so under the guise of, Christianity, they were, either burned to the stake, or they were persecuted or ridiculed or what have you. But all the word weird means is to be spirited. That's the actual origin of the word weirdo. Okay.
Thank you for sharing what weird means, because I used it a lot in the past. And one of my friends, I think it kind of didn't sit quite, it felt edgy to her. So I stopped using it. But that's really cool to know where it came from.
Yeah. And I like to let people know, because people are like, "Oh," and it's like, so I've embraced probably since my late 20s the word weird, because I knew that the Welsh origin was weirda. And I'm like, well, I know from having met so many people, I know that I'm not exactly the same. And like, there's, I'm so odd, so different, so peculiar, not bizarre, but I definitely know that I'm definitely weird from that type of definition. And so, I would tell people, and I told my kids from the time they were toddlers, we would have their friends over for playovers. And it's like, okay, full disclosure, you may as well let them know you're weird, I'm weird, we're all weird, and it's totally fine. It's what makes us interesting. And so everybody would have a good laugh. And part of it is I wanted to kind of inoculate them, if you will, from getting to that point where they get to junior high or high school, where they're so self-conscious, and some group might over there may think that they're weird, or that whole issue. It's like, you know what, you can bypass that. It's like, I grew up my whole life hearing my mother say and evidencing and seeing, okay, I mean, how many families, like, to kind of keep it simple, my kids are a quarter Asian and then 3/4 Eurasian. So it's like, you have Irish, Danish, and Japanese on their dad's side. And then you have Irish, Scottish, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Greek, Norwegian, and Jewish. On my side, it's like, who does that? It's like, that's kind of weird. I go, and it's totally fine. It's like, how many kids are running around that are 100% any one of those things? That's kind of weird too. It's maybe more common, and you might find somebody who's Japanese or Korean who they're 100%. But, as a general rule of thumb, everybody is like some sort of mishmash. So that's kind of what makes us, unique and different. And, it's okay. It's okay to be weird. That's the whole point. So it kind of minimizes the whole self-consciousness about being weird by any definition. So that, I think, is a perfect thing to like segue into what we talked about before. And I think this is such a great thing to just once a day. That's part of my mirror work, where it's, I am love, and the affirmations that we put there, but just thinking, am I aware? And as we do that mirror work, saying, I love you, and doing it daily, and throughout the day, just having little moments in time where you're like, am I aware? I'm like, yeah, I'm totally aware. Up until that moment, I was busy doing whatnot, kind of more in my head. And just for a few seconds, it doesn't have to be 15, 20, 30 minutes. If I want to, I can, but it doesn't have to be long. Just, am I aware? And you recognize that you're the one who's noticing all of these things. As I've increased that practice of asking myself, am I aware? I noticed that it definitely has affected my dream state. And when it comes to lucid dreaming, astral projection, where you feel more you're leaving your body, whether you're doing it in a dream state or whether you're doing it in a meditation, it seems like that there's a greater amount of frequency that I'm experiencing that with really no effort. And I think it's all tied to just bringing your brain to the point where you're saying, am I aware? Because the moment you say it, you're automatically aware. The next thing we're going to do is, the next thing we are going to do is we're going to talk about, we did talk about the 12 emotional blocks before, and I wanted to give you all an opportunity for us. Wanted to do gray room to.
Can I say something? I just thought about the virtual party that the Joe Dispenza. I went to that, and I wasn't able to speak. My microphone wouldn't work. So anyway, I thought maybe I would see you guys there, but I didn't see you.
I couldn't make it. I was too tied up, busy.
I figured you might be too busy. And Terry, I thought maybe you would have been there.
I had something else going on that night. That was when I was with my friend overlooking the ocean having dinner.
That was probably more fun. I was kind of, it was very interesting, or I was very interested to see how many people showed up, and they were from all over the world. So that was pretty amazing, but I wasn't able to voice. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that.
I'm curious, how many people did show up? Well,
by the time I checked out, there was maybe 8, 9.
Okay.
And there might have been more, and there was a circle, but I couldn't get my speaker to work. So
interesting.
Yeah, checked out. But it looked like a neat, I like the concept.
Yeah, I hope he does more of those, because those are fun. And you get to meet and connect with people from all over. I have the Dr. Joe 7-day advanced month. There's a monthly follow-up that's just for 7-day advanced students. And then there's one that I started that's for 7-day advanced students and advanced follow-ups. And so just the 25th of every month, we do a Zoom call, and everybody kind of gives a recap of what's happened in the last 30 days. And there have been some incredible manifestations. Like I think there was one gal where I think I mentioned it in a broadcast before where she needed to bridge the gap from her ex-husband paying support. And she didn't really want to ask for a raise. That felt awkward or uncomfortable. And so she just threw it into her meditation. It wasn't attached too much, just going, I got to figure something out to, to bridge that gap. And then just, right after she came back from the Orlando event in April, her boss said, hey, listen, I want to sit down and talk to you. We haven't given you a raise in over 2 years. So we're giving you a 20% raise. That 20% raise exceeded what her ex was giving her. And she's like, this is so much better. I didn't have to sit down and ask and be uncomfortable. She goes, I just threw it into quantum 5D, had a clear intention with an elevated emotion, wrapped it up with love, gratitude, and appreciation, and the upload's complete. And she goes, it didn't take long at all. I think it was like a week after she got back from the Orlando 7-day. I thought, wow. She had a lot of other things that happened too, but that was like, I'm like, I love that. That's awesome. So we talked 2 weeks ago, we did an exercise about the 12 emotional blocks. And these are the different emotions. We have them in groups. You can pick any one of these or any 4, or if there's just 2, it's up to you, whatever resonates with you, either anger, sadness, afraid, sorry, frustrated, disappointed, worried, embarrassed, jealous, hurt, scared, ashamed. Those are the emotional blocks. So if you have any one of those, or you sense that you have anything along those lines that you would like to clear, we can do the gray room technique, which doesn't take very long to do. And clear that, because that is going to make the way for us to, of course, not just attract our heart mate, but it's a loving thing. It's kind of like, how you have to dust your house so often, you have to sweep, mop, you have to vacuum clean, you have to get rid of the dust. So it's something that every now and then you want to clear those cobwebs and keep your vessel is your body, right? We're using this housing and keeping our heart and brain in coherence so that we can continue to be in this high state of joy and continue to manifest all these wonderful things. But just pick, these are the emotions. So if you want to take a piece of paper and just write down 1 or 2.
I wrote them down last time.
Okay. So if you,
I'm going to go get them. They're
okay.
right. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see these okay? It looks like.
Yeah, I took a handy dandy picture of it.
Okay, good. So you see what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And these may be, it may be an emotion that maybe you don't have every day, but maybe you experienced it earlier today. Like I will say that I had the emotion of being worried and frustrated earlier today. And then I was able to turn it around. And then I felt much better. So as you recognize, it's like, oh, I just don't like this feeling state, but I don't have to do an outward reach. I don't have to drink alcohol. I don't need to find something outside of me to fix this. I can use my own self-love and mastery of that self-love, and using something like the PSMO or like the gray room technique that we've done before, I can take care of this and I don't have to lug that. It doesn't have to ruin the rest of my day.
Do you spend time with that feeling, and then do you kind of make an effort to locate it as
Like
where it might be inside of your body?
Yeah, like when I went to go do lunch, I went to go make lunch, and I recognized that I was feeling, I'm like, oh, what is this unpleasant feeling? And I noticed that I was feeling worried, and I was also feeling frustrated because there were certain things in my experience where I was like, okay, I'd like to have more clarity and certainty. Now that I'm mentioning it to you guys, I'm recognizing that there was a certain sense of vulnerability, kind of like needing protection. And so it's like, okay, well, how much of that is real? How much of that is perceived? Because a lot of times it's a matter of perception. And so, but I've known for some time that something is going to happen. Sure enough, something happened today that after I did just a little bit, I didn't spend very much time. I mean, maybe 15 minutes I spent on it, maybe. And then shortly thereafter, then everything kind of like dominoes. I had certain information that was brought to my awareness that I had no idea about. And once I became aware of it, I'm like, oh, whew. I'm like, wow. But I was already in the before that. So it was like a second, oh, whew. So now I know what the unexpected was bringing, but I had to have the feeling before I was able to pull that in, which I thought was kind of interesting. So I'm like, okay, it's like, I think that the reason why this is happening is to strengthen that muscle for me. Doesn't matter how small, how big. There are things like I thought that there was possibly next Saturday, I'm supposed to leave in the evening. I'm flying out to Denver for the 7-day advance event. And so the fact that we have, Encephalon just sent an email 4 or 5 days ago. It's like, wow, when it rains, it pours, saying that now in order to attend the 7-day advance, just at the Gaylords for Denver and for the Gaylord policies, you have to present proof of having a negative COVID test. And I was like, I don't want to, I've been like, no, I don't want to take the COVID test. Maybe this is a sign that I'm not supposed to go. I have so much going on right now here. And then my kids, they're here till the 10th and they're leaving earlier in the day on the 10th. I don't leave until I have a red eye. So I thought maybe this is a sign that I'm not supposed to go. And then I had gotten, I'm like, no, I don't want to do the, get that test. However,
have you had the shot?
No, I'm not doing the shot. I'm definitely not doing the shot.
Okay, you're not a shot person.
No, I'm definitely not doing the shot. But so then when I went on the web to see about, okay, the different, because I knew that there was like 3 or 4 different types of tests, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that one. I'm not going to do, if I were to do one, this is the one I would do. But there's nothing available like for the next 2, 3, 4 days. And I was like, I'm going, okay, so if I can't get the COVID test, it's one of 2 things. Either A, I'm really not supposed to go, at which point I need to cancel all of that, which I have so much going on here. It's probably just as well. Or I know, see, this is kind of the funny part. You really have to know what it is that you want. Because if you know exactly what you want, all you have to do is put it in your meditation. You slow down your breath, slow down your heart rate, slow down your brain waves. And as you have that clear intention of what it is that you want, you can unassemble the particles as they are right now, turn them back into waveforms of energy so that they reassemble into the particles that you want. I mean, David, you did it when the pickleball thing was like completely full and there wasn't any spots left. And you're like, I still want to go. I think it was for pickleball or some other event that you had.
Pickleball.
Okay. I thought it was pickleball, you said. And even though it was all, pretty much full where there weren't any spots, you're like, I'm still going to go. So I'm like, okay, I know that I have the wherewithal because I have had so many other manifestations that my 3D eyes were telling me one fact, but I knew that I could rearrange that so that I could change what the outcome was so I wouldn't have to have that. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I won't need to have a COVID test. Something's going to happen where I'm going to just put it in my 5D manifestation, in my meditation where, no, I'm not going to get a test here. And when I get there, something's going to happen that I'm not going to need it when I get to Colorado, if I really do want to still go. So anything is possible. Everything is fluid. We're in a dynamic, not a static universe. So what that means is that because we live in a dynamic universe, everything is fluid, everything is changing. Just because a dinner reservation right now is completely packed for the rest of the evening, as of this moment, that doesn't mean that 30 minutes from now, it's going to be packed for the rest of the evening. There are people who could cancel, no show. That creates an opportunity, even though it's allegedly sold out, full.
Lillian, you really do want to go.
I do. There's several things.
Made it rather clear for the last 2 weeks how excited you are that you're going.
Yeah. Well, today.
Not even following the heart mate next week because you're going to that. You do want to go. It's important to you.
It is important to me. Yeah. This is very important to me. So yeah. So now it's like, okay, I'm just being more definitive with more specifics of what I want, not necessarily how it's going to happen, but I know the end result. So as I continue to do that, it's like, okay, well, it becomes abundantly clear, not just with the heart mate, because again, it applies with everything that you do in your life. From, for example, I have family members in my family who went ahead and this is not to, I don't want to bring this up because I know it can be controversial or it can be political, and I don't think it should be political, but it has become. But some people are for that, you know, the shot, and others are not. And so I have members who have, and I have concerns, but I had to let a lot of that go. And for the ones who've decided to get that, and then there are those who they're like, you know, they haven't gotten the shot, and so that is what it is. And so it's like, oh, well, you know, we all love our loved ones and we want what's best for them, but ultimately each individual, you know, God put each person on this planet with free will. I have free will, they have free will. I have my path, they have their path. And so everyone has a choice on how to navigate this existence. So it's like, I'm not going to add the energy of worry to any particular family members who have opted that, because my 3D eyes is telling me that this is what the science says. And, you know, upon further investigation, I don't like any of this stuff, but I also recognize that in meditation, all of that can be, you can mold it like clay. You can morph it into what you do want. So it's like, it's like a loop where it's like, it goes back to self-mastery. It's like, it can't be attached to any of that. I'm responsible for me. They're responsible for them. As much as I love, whether it's my parents, my kids, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my brothers, my nephews, my nieces, it's all good. Everybody is doing the best that they can. And I just need to continue with staying, like keeping love at the base. Like today I slipped at lunchtime, and I don't know if it's just because I stepped away or whatnot, but it's when you're not thinking of anything that your ego will go, oh, opportunity, boom, we're going to hit her now, because her mind is not occupied focusing on this or that. So boom, that's when the frustration and the worry kind of bubbled up. And I realized I got to let that go. That's my ego trying to take the reins again of being the CEO along with my brain. I'm like, no. You guys, I told you, ego, you're in timeout. Remember? It's what I visualize in the meditations.
That was easy.
Brain, which is right next to my ego and my mind's eye. Okay, ego, you're in timeout indefinitely. And brain, now you do as I say. And just to kind of give you guys a heads up, because last week, I'm not sure if it was Thursday or Friday, I woke up and my eyes were kind of dry. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird that my eyes, I would wake up and they're so dry, very unusual. And I thought, that's not happening again. So I told myself after I woke up, I said, brain, I command you to signal my autonomic nervous system to have me wake up with moist eyes tomorrow morning and every morning thereafter. And then before I went to sleep, I threw it in my meditation, very light, not a big deal, just exactly what I said. I just said it again. Brain, I command you to give me moist eyes when I wake up in the morning. I'm back to normal again. What was that all about? I don't know. Why did I wake up with such dry, heavy eyes? Our weather isn't markedly different. So I don't know what happened that happened, but I'm like, that was pretty much effortless. I just said it, assumed that it was done, moved on. And then the next morning I'm like, oh, it worked. So I'm like, okay, I need to do more of that, which is more, it's again, more self-mastery. It's like keeping myself at the vibrational level where the base is love. And then you go to joy, you have excitement, exhilaration, you have bliss, as opposed to like, you know, I had a momentary lapse where I allowed the ego to rule. And then I was in worry, I was in frustration, you know, really kind of struggling, fighting myself really when it comes to not being certain and not knowing, am I going, am I not going? You know, these things that are uncertain. It's like, that was my ego going, oh, we're going to be slick. We're going to kind of get in this little crevice, because if we use anger, it's too obvious. If we use hurrying, that's she's on to us when it's hurry. No. So, but it's something that it's a practice. We're doing this from now until we go to the grave. I mean, we could quit, but why would you want to go back to not being equipped and being able to master this? So that's all we're doing. We're learning to master ourselves so that we are in a greater state of coherent love in our hearts, so that our heart brain, we're doing, not just our heart and our brain is coherent, because Dr. Joe is teaching us with the meditations, especially the blessing of the energy centers, that each energy center, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, and the eighth, each one has its own brain, its own energy, and its own hormones and chemicals that each one of those, they produce. So as you continue to just don't be so heavy and left-brained about the particulars of that. Just know that as you're doing the breathing and your intention is focused where you're taking the energy to those centers, it's done. And so it's not like, it doesn't take Herculean power. You don't have to have been, a monk in some, monastery in India or Japan. No, we've already been equipped. We've been educated. We've been instructed and guided. Just keep doing it. And the truth is, only we can decide to make that choice. So as I share here these things with you guys, they're things that are working for me that I know that I've heard other people who've had similar things where it's like, okay, what does it look like when, one thing is to do a meditation and then walk away and then become unconscious the rest of the day and things throw you out of kilter. And then at the end of the day, then you calm yourself down. It's like, well, you didn't have to blow the whole middle part of your day. You could have kept more of that meditative, like cool, calm, great state. Something like in my case, something bubbled up. It wasn't something, I didn't get a letter. I didn't get a call. It wasn't anything on the outside that was on the obvious outside that was bothering me. But as I had that bubble up, I'm like, this doesn't feel good. I'm like, why am I feeling? And I had to figure out what emotion I was feeling. And I figured it's like, okay, I hate to admit that I'm feeling worried because I know that that's fear. Worried means that you're not going to have enough of something. And I'm frustrated because of the lack of certainty. So it's like, okay, I don't want to be married and attached to certainty. I know that I can mold the clay. Okay, so I can take that off the plate. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. My ego, that little crafty booger weaseled his way in and I didn't even realize it. So I'm like, oh, time out. And then the rest was history. And here we are now talking about it. So that's kind of, I think, we see a lot in a lot of the different Dr. Joe groups, whether it's the official or any of the other ones. Oftentimes people say it's like, I feel great during my meditations, but then how do I carry that greater sense of just feeling good? Because that's what everybody wants. We all just want to feel happy. We want to feel joy. We want to feel like you're alive. You want to feel empowered. And this work really does give us empowerment. I feel, not only what we've been doing with Dr. Joe's work, but also like with this 90-day HeartMate consciousness experiment, we're recognizing that as we use our awareness in a particular way, we are far more empowered than what we originally thought. And we've been playing with this energy where we've been measuring the signs, symbols, synchronicity, the dreams, the something as, the dream hypnosis that we did was less than 10 minutes long last week. That increases your recollection of dreams, even your frequency of dreams. If you listen to it more often, it'll just, continue to expand it. But you're just taking a little bit of time, I think it was like 8.5 minutes or something of time to just focus on that. And you're just the calming down of your body, head to toe, and calming the mind where you're clearing it out. And you're just focusing on your dreams, which I'm going to say they're not here now, but they are here now. They're never completely gone. They're just in the recesses of a different place of your consciousness. And now you're saying, okay, when I have a dream and, however I have it, I'm going to command my brain now to recall it so that when I'm in conscious state, I'm going to remember the dream contents and the feeling so that I can benefit in a conscious state, as opposed to when you're just in the dream you're experiencing and how real that feels. And that's just focused.
May I share something, Lillian?
Yes.
When
Please
you were talking about energy, I noticed this week that I have a whole lot of energy in number 2 for that's just kind of how I run. And I had the awareness to start managing that energy and moving it to different centers that don't feel like they have enough energy, and just kind of share the love from center 2. And when you mentioned needing a COVID test, my friends have researched, and I think it's Costco. You can pick up a test, you mail it in through FedEx and get the answers within 3 days. And it's supposed to be a healthier, safer test. I can ask my friend. And
That's what I looked up. There's an antigen rapid test, which like in 2 hours you get the results. You have to call in for an appointment. I'm not really too worried now because, like I said, I just took like a few minutes and I just did a brief little meditation, and I said, you know what? Push comes to shove, if I absolutely have to take like the saliva test, at Denver, I'm sure they'll have them there, at the event. Push come to shove, especially since we are getting people from all over the world that are coming. But I'm not too worried about it. And I know that I could probably, like I said, it was just a matter of getting an appointment. And then when I was first checking, it's like for 3 days in a row, there was like nothing available. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, yeah, like, you know what? I'm not going to care about it. I'm just going to really focus on what it is that I want. And now that I know that I will be going, I'm not backing out. All these things are shifting as we speak.
Yep.
So it's like, but that's because the particles that I witnessed days ago, they went back into potential waveforms of energy and rearranging.
Exactly.
And so it feels good once you have the confirmation. It's like, okay, just like in my mind's eye, I'm like, yes, 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 I did it. I made the impossible possible. I use the same scripts. I'm kind of boring in that way, but it's also like I'm anchored into that feeling of yes, yes, yes. It's like, I did it. And it's like a no-brainer because it's like a script that I use that works. And since it works for me, and then whether I'm manifesting where it's just me, or if I've told you guys about when I had my phone stolen, there was a man involved because I was affirming that men are magical, mystical creatures, right? And so in the meditation, since he had said that he would help me get the phone back, that I didn't even give it a second thought to think that a guy would think, oh, your phone was stolen, I can get it back for you. How realistic. Most guys would say your phone is stolen, it's gone. But guess what? He seemed to be confident that he could get it back. And he did. But I already was in my walking meditation as soon as he said, I will help you get your phone back. I'm like, you will? He's like, yeah. He goes, we need to go to the opposite side of the plaza. Let's drive there. I immediately said, I need to slow down my breath, slow down my heart rate. It's like a walking meditation with my eyes open. And I just started slowing down my breath, my heart rate, my brain waves, my ego, time out, brain, do as I say. I got to make an upload here into 5D. And then I just saw in my mind's eye, I saw myself saying to Mateo, I'm like, Mateo, oh my gosh, you're a rock star. You did it. You did it. You did it. My gosh, you made the impossible possible. So through him, I made him make the impossible possible. And so it doesn't matter if it's just you or you and another character, human, it doesn't matter. It works no matter what. And so if that helps anybody, it may not work. Dr. Joe says, make this your own. And so that's how I've made it my own. And it's working for me. And for some of you that may work. For some of you, maybe your languaging might be a little bit different or similar or completely different. It doesn't matter. It's whatever feels good to you.
Right.
Lillian, I'm going to have to check out.
Okay.
It's I was up early this morning and it's very early tomorrow morning as well.
Okay.
And so I am going to check out. So enjoy the Joe Dispenza 7-day event. And
Thank
Terry, very nice to see you. It's
Thank
great
you.
that your life seems like it's just happening. So good to see you guys.
Good to see you, David.
And so we'll see you in 2 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah.
That's correct?
Exactly. 2 weeks yesterday. I will put a notification also in the Facebook group so that you guys have that there.
Okay. Until then.
Aloha.
Ciao for now. Aloha.
Aloha. Aloha. Good night.
All right, good night. Okay, so Terry, we'll do the gray room technique. And you already know probably your 4 emotions or 2 emotions, or maybe there's just one, whatever you feel inspired to put in the gray room. So let's go ahead and take 3 slow, deep breaths. 1, inhale. Hold. Exhale as slowly as you can. Deeper and deeper with every breath that you take, with every beat of your heart, you're going deeper and deeper. Inhale again, slow. Hold from the top of your head down to your tippy toes. Your entire body is relaxing, drifting, dreaming, sliding, gliding, deep down, diving, down, 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 down. 3rd breath, inhale. To the top, hold. And exhale. Your brain is now going into a deep theta state, the deepest theta state you've ever been in before. And in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, you will be taking 10 steps down some stairs that are black in color. And you'll begin with your left foot, right foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At the bottom of the stairs, you see a white door with a golden handle, and on top of the door, it says the gray room. You reach out with your dominant hand, you open the door, and as you open the door, you walk into the gray room. And on the walls of this gray room, you see 1,000, maybe 2,000, maybe 3,000 yellow little Post-it notes that are covering the entire gray room. And this gray room is like a domed shaped room. And you're kind of amused to see all these bright little yellow Post-it notes. But you notice a couple of Post-it notes that are a bright red color. And those are some of the less than pleasant emotions and feelings that you've experienced recently. The remainder of all those bright yellow Post-it notes that are covering the ceiling and all the side walls all around you are all the wonderful, happy moments that you have experienced from birth until this very moment. And so you walk over to those 2 Post-it notes that are bright red in color. And as you grab the first one and put it in your other hand and reach out again with your dominant hand, tear off the next one, you are noticing how that Post-it note feels in your hand. You're noticing the energy. You're noticing that it's not as big as you thought it was. And you're noticing that you are the creator of your experiences, and you're able to resolve and dissolve this at will simply by choosing it. It's your choice to use your free will, however you will choose to use it. And so you grab both Post-it notes and you start to tear them apart. Tear them apart, tear them apart, tear them apart. Tear them apart into 100 tiny little pieces. And now you look in the middle of the gray room and you see a fire pit. And so you have a big giant smile on your face. And as you feel the tiny little papers in your hand, you very assertively and very much feeling empowered, knowing that you are one with the one and that you are the one, and that you have a choice and your choices are honored, you whoosh, throw those papers into the fire pit, and you see them instantly dissolve and resolve into the fire, immediately burning away without any resistance whatsoever. You kind of shake off both hands over the fire. You feel the warmth of the glow, and you recognize that everything has gone back to the light. So you basically do a 180-degree turn. That fire pit is now behind you, and you choose to walk in a state of joy, in a state of feeling satisfied. You have this great relief knowing that that energy no longer has any hold over you, and you walk back to the door from where you came, and you open the door with your dominant hand. It opens and glides very gently, very softly, without making so much as a peep of a noise. And you walk back out, and you see the same black stairs that you came down. You close the door behind you, and now you start to walk back up the stairs and come back to your level of consciousness from where we started. And so starting with your dominant, with your left foot, you'll begin with your left foot, and by the count of 10, we will be completely awake in a conscious state. So left, right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel yourself climbing up the stairs, coming back into conscious awareness. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, awake.
Very nice.
I just felt an energy go up my right side. Even though I did it earlier today. Isn't that funny? So there must have been some sort of residue or who knows what, but yeah, I kind of went up my right side, and then I kind of felt it in my heart. So, wow. So that did feel good. I will say that this is it for this particular lesson. And so we are going to dismiss this evening's lesson, and we can go do our Go Love 20 on our own after we finish this broadcast. You can just simply turn on the Go Love 20 that we can find either in Dr. Joe's channel, or if you're on my channel on Love and Money Secrets TV, you'll see under the 90-day Heart-Made Consciousness Experiment. It's in that playlist. And that's it. If there's anything else that you'd like to comment, Terry, or maybe feelings after that gray room, it did feel good.
Yeah, I feel more light, buoyant. And last week you told us to watch something on Netflix. I forget what it was you said. I think it was Netflix.
Yeah, it was Manifest. I forgot to. I knew I was forgetting something. I'll have to ask when we.
Is that a series? Like it's a weekly series?
Yes. So it's 2 seasons long. So there's 20 episodes, and one builds on the next one. And it's called Manifest, which if you look at whether it's a plane or a boat, they always have a manifest of every passenger that's on a flight.
Oh, that kind of manifest. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, but it's a play on words, because it's a manifest because of the manifest of the people there were 191 people that were on that flight. But it also, there was a consciousness expert that was on that flight of 191 people. And then when you see how people's consciousness, the 191 passengers, all their consciousness was much different than the consciousness of everybody else when they came back, because everybody else thought that all 191 passengers had perished, and they hadn't. Somehow they went into some other dimension where they were gone for 5 years. They thought it was just a few hours, but they were gone for 5 years. So when they came back, it was 5 years later. And so it's a very, the revelations that they show week to week, and how people were hearing voices, seeing things, perceiving things, putting the pieces of the puzzle together, paying attention to their intuition, their higher self, their inner being, God's voice, whatever, language, people want to give it. listening to what they called the calling,
Mhm.
and what were the benefits and the consequences to listening to the calling as opposed to not listening to the calling, and what things, it's a pretty fascinating show. So that's why I had recommended that you guys, after I had just finished both 2 seasons. And I
Mhm.
thought, wow, this is really intriguing, really fascinating. There's a couple scenes, I will admit, that because I don't like blood, guts, and gore. But there
Mhm.
were probably, I think, 2 scenes that I had to just kind of like, hold up my hand and not look at it, maybe fast forward and go on.
Mhm.
But most of it isn't like that. Most of it was just very intriguing. And there's a lot of science because one of the 191 passengers, she's a geneticist. She's an actual scientist that works on genetic makeup. And so there was, something having to do with an anti-serum and, genetics. And then there was a little boy who was dying of leukemia. So there's all these twists and turns. And then there's, of course, a couple of police officers that were detectives. So it's a very, at the core of it, it has to do with consciousness. And so that's why I
Mhm.
thought it would be great for you guys to watch. And the word manifest, actually, as you watch, you see how they actually do manifest certain things too.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it's on Netflix. If it doesn't show up because like I told some people, like I have a virtual private network. And so for Netflix, I have it set to Washington, DC. And I know that the shows that they have for the east side of our eastern side of the United States, the shows are different than what we have access to on the West Coast.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah. And so as you change if you don't use a virtual private network, then of course it's just whatever city and state you're in or whatever country you're in. But if you get, like I gave people a link through the Facebook group so that they get 30 days free. So at the very least, they can change the setting to Washington, DC, and then they can watch the show manifest no matter where in the world you are. And that way you can check that out, like I said, on Netflix. But
Oh, thank you. Somehow I missed that memo. So I go to your webpage.
yeah,
Excuse
so
me, not webpage, Facebook page or
yeah.
webpage?
It's on the Facebook 90-day HeartMate Consciousness Experiment. There's a link for there's 30 days free with ExpressVPN. And then
Okay,
that way you can
awesome.
try it for 30 days. Otherwise, it's like the cost of like a Starbucks venti latte,
Uh-huh.
like $99 a year.
Uh-huh. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So, and the reason why I originally got it a few years ago because I got hacked. They took like $5,000 out of my bank account and my private.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was like, how did they get through? Even though I called my bank, I said, hey, it looks like someone's trying to do something. They're like, yeah, something's not right. Somehow they still weaseled in and managed to, successfully take the money out. So then my bank said, you need to take your laptop. You need to have the motherboard completely reset and wiped out. Your operating system has to be completely wiped out. They intercepted your IP. You need to have a new router, a new modem. You need to have a brand new IP address. So long story short, then I talked to a couple software engineers and IT people, and they said, in addition to that, get a virtual private network because then you'll have a private browsing. You can rotate your servers. You'll be able to protect yourself against hackers and things like that because of virtual private network. There's nothing as completely impossible, but it'll be much, much, much more difficult. So I'm like, okay, well, I've got that. I'm like, you know what, for $99 a year, it's worth it. And I haven't had an issue since. So I don't want anybody to have to go through the whole cyber attack. But it's like one of the perks is that I can move the server to anywhere. I could do Switzerland, I could do Canada. If I want to see YouTube videos that are more congruent with what's going on in Canada or Italy or Germany, I just change the server to that country, and now all of a sudden I have all the YouTube video content for that country.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it gives you a whole other array of stuff. So I thought for the United States it was the same, whether New York, Washington, Hawaii, LA, but I found out this just in the last 6 months. I'm like, there's another show that I was watching that I'm like, I forgot that I had changed my server, and I'm like, oh, so this show Dynasty, it's not available in California. It's only available like on the East Coast. So I had to set it back to New York or to Washington. I'm like, on Netflix. I'm like, that's interesting.
So if I understand you right, I need to set it to Washington, D.C. to watch Manifest. Is that what you were saying?
So to watch Manifest, just set it to Washington. Just pick the server Washington, D.C. You can just type at the top Washington, D.C. and then it'll pull it up. Or you can pick, it'll say servers and then it'll show all, I think there's I know there's 198 countries in the world, but I think there's something like 134 or something like that, 100 plus servers around the world that they have. So then you just pick whatever server and they tell you which ones are the most optimized, that are the strongest.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can pick any of them. I'm like, great.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you. I'm going to sign off so you can go do some more experimenting with your 90-day heart experiment.
Yeah, I'll do my Go Love 20 and then I will do dinner. And actually, I'm going to talk to one of the guys tonight.
Uh-huh.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
Aloha. Thank you.
Aloha. Ciao.
Bye.
for now.